Hey, good afternoon from sunny Florida. Tonight we've got Ronny V on the RBC channel. One of the founders of the channel will be speaking live, well actually recorded, from a step study meeting. And this guy is the genuine article. I think you're gonna really enjoy it. And let me introduce to you Ronny V.
My name's Ron, I'm an alcoholic.
Hey, Ron.
So, last week we were looking at these three words: power, control, and choice, right? And what we're getting to is this idea that when I'm not drinking, when I'm sober, when the physical craving is off of me, I still have I don't have the power to choose whether or not I'm going to drink or not. And we saw that clearly stated, right? Clearly stated on page 24. It says, the fact for most alcoholics, reason for yet obscure, have lost the power of choice in drinking. That's when I'm not drinking, right? And so, again, everything that we're talking about from page 23 to page 43 is designed to talk to me about what happens when I'm sober, when the physical craving is off of me. And so I want to carry that with me. I want to keep that in my mind as I read this, that what we're talking about is what happens just prior to the first one, right? So there's a couple of words that we usually define here at the top of page 30, if you guys are playing along. The first word is called illusion. Illusion. And the definition of illusion is to mislead the mind. To mislead the mind. And the next word that we want to talk about is called delusion. And that's defined as a false idea or a misleading thought. A false idea or a misleading thought. Interestingly enough, both of those words have something in common, right? And they're going to use a bunch of words over here on page 31 that also have something in common. And interestingly enough, they all mean not true, right? Or lie. Or half true, which we'll see a little bit later in the literature. And so here we go. This is chapter 3, more about alcoholism. It says here, most of us have been unwilling to admit we were real alcoholics. No person likes to think he is bodily and mentally different from his fellows. Therefore, it's not surprising that our drinking careers have been characterized by countless vain attempts to prove we could drink like other people. The idea that somehow, someday, he will control and enjoy. If you were interested in playing along, I might highlight those two words. Control and enjoy his drinking is the great obsession of every abnormal drinker. The persistence of this illusion is astonishing. Many pursue it into the gates of insanity or death. I would probably highlight these next two sentences too. We learned that we had to fully concede to our innermost selves that we were alcoholic. This is the first step in recovery. And we've got this identified as the definition of step 1. That I need to fully concede to my innermost self that I'm an alcoholic. I don't know how many years I went to AA. I sat in the front, I sat in the back, I had trying to pick the right sponsor, and I would come and I would raise my hand and I would say, Ron, alcoholic, and I had no idea what I was talking about. Right? And if you asked me, if somebody had to actually jam me up at the meeting and said, Ron, what makes you an alcoholic? I would have started talking to you about a bunch of drama. I would have started talking to you about incarceration, crashed cars, failed relationships, all this type of stuff, right? And that's what I thought. If I was able to actually tell the truth, I probably would have showed up, raised my hand, and said, Ron trying to beat another court case. Because I had no idea what an alcoholic was, right? I had no clue. And so, how am I going to fully concede? Never mind admit, right? We're talking about fully concede to my innermost self, right? And I did this when we were talking about what's wrong with us physically. If I asked everybody in the room right now to admit to me fully concede to your innermost self that you're a hemoglobin, just do it right now, right? Depending on your circumstances, you might be like, I'm a hemoglobin, right? Right? I'm about to get thrown out of the house. Yep, that's me, right? But how could you fully concede if you don't know what that is? But there I am sitting in AA going, yep, Ron, alcoholic, just hoping to God the judge loves me this time, right? The delusion, the false idea or misleading thought that we're like other people or presently maybe has to be smashed. Check this out. I don't know why. I've been talking about this a lot lately in the places that I go. This is what I'm up to. Hope we don't run out of time. Anyways, I drank half a Red Bull. I forgot to tell you guys. I did, the orange one, small can, just half. May have been a little more than half. The evidence is in the trash can. Anyways, me and my buddy John here, we grow up together, right? We've known each other since kindergarten. We grow up, we got a whole group of friends, right? And the whole group, we all go to the same first party. We all drank our first beer together. We all grow up and we're going through life and all is well, right? You got your crew, right? That you all started with, right? The high school party or I don't know, whatever y'all were up to, right? And so you grow up a little bit and you got your favorite watering hole and the whole crew goes every Friday night to the bar and you all drink the same stuff, don't you? Right? I'm out at the bar drinking the same thing that my friends over here are drinking. We all do 8 shots of Jaeger and then we start on the beer and then it's some sort of later white Russian something hot drink, I don't know, whatever, right? But we're all getting smashed, right? We're all getting smashed. We all drink the same thing. We all fall down the same way, right? So me and John are like, we run into a little trouble, whatever it is, right? We go away, we get sober, we come back, and there's our friends all doing the same thing. We walk in, right? And they're all doing the same thing. Those people drank exactly this what I drank. They partied the same way I partied, but guess where they're at on Monday morning? Work. Work. Not me. Work's not happening Monday. Work's not happening. If it's July, work's not happening probably until after I get arrested the following year. But what's going on? I walk back into the place. There's people that drink like I drink. They do the exact same. And what are they doing to me? They're trying to kill me is what they're doing. They are an illusion. They are creating a false idea or a misleading thought. As soon as I walk into the bar, I've got a pile of consequences, but I'm looking at these people. I see that it's possible. We're from the same town. We grew up in the same size house. We went to the same school. And I look at them and I say, if they can do it, I can do it. Now I'm delusional. The illusion has been created. Now I have an idea that's not true. And now I have a false idea or a misleading thought, which by definition is an obsession, right? And it's going to trick me into taking the first drink. If they can do it, I can do it. I'm going to share you guys really quick because it's worth sharing. I have a friend, his name is Patrick. Some of you have heard this story. His name is Patrick. Patrick almost killed me. He's one of my best friends growing up. We got in all sorts of trouble together. Patrick is a recreational IV heroin user. Straight up, he can start, he can party Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and guess where he's at Monday? Work. He has the coolest business in the world. He builds sets for feature films and music videos and stuff. He does the helicopters, the desert, giant staircases that go nowhere, 50-foot clown heads. They build it all. It's awesome, right? On a random Friday, Patrick will go out to the shop. He'll see Flacco or Chewy or whoever's working. He'll send them over to the neighborhood to pick up a little something, right? He'll go back to his freaking amazing house in the valley that has the waterfall with the thing where you can go under and rolling thing with a palapa. I mean, his wife is awesome. They love each other. They have dogs. They have this amazing life. And Patrick will shoot heroin Friday night, float around in his pool, drink his damn Heineken. Saturday, he'll do a little more. Sunday, he may or may not. Monday, he's back at work, closing another deal, buying another house. Every time I got out or got whatever, I'm calling Patrick. Patrick, what's up? Do you know how many times I was going to work with Patrick, live with Patrick? This all happened. I'm going to work with Patrick. I'm going to live with Patrick. When Patrick wakes up in the morning, I'm going to wake up. When Patrick goes to bed, I'm going to go to bed. If Patrick does an adult-sized shot, I'll do an adult-sized shot. If Patrick drinks 2 beers, I'll drink 2 beers. He almost killed me. He almost killed me. This is a walking illusion. This is so important, you guys, because this is what we're subject to mentally when we're not drinking. It's brutal. We're going to see it with Jim and Fred in a few minutes, right? We're going to see precisely what happens. I move through life. I see an illusion. It creates an idea that's not true. I am now delusional, and I'm in deep trouble. Deep trouble. The false idea or the misleading thought that I'm like Patrick has to be smashed. What is the book saying? It's not saying set it down gently, right? It's not saying, write about it and feel your way out of it. It's saying smash it. Smash the idea. I finally had to do that. I had another friend that was similar, and these people were close. We were in sticky situations together, when we were young. And these people were good friends from every other standpoint, and I had to let them go. And it was very sad. And I had to have that conversation with Patrick. I can't hang with you anymore. I'm going to die. I'm going to die. Right? We alcoholics, men and women who have lost the ability to control our drinking, we know that no real alcoholic ever recovers control. All of us felt at times we were regaining control, but such intervals, usually brief, were inevitably followed by still less control, which led in time to pitiful and incomprehensible demoralization. We are convinced to a man. That means we're convinced that every single one of us, right? That alcoholics of our type are in the grip of a progressive illness. Over any considerable period, we get worse, never better. We're like men who have lost their legs. They never grow new ones. Neither does there appear to be any kind of treatment which will make alcoholics of our kind like other men. We have tried every imaginable remedy. In some instances, there's been brief recovery, followed always by a still worse relapse. Physicians who are familiar with alcoholism agree there's no such thing as making a cucumber out of a pickle. No normal drinker out of an alcoholic. Science may one day accomplish this, but it hasn't done so yet. Despite all we can say, many who are real alcoholics are not going to believe they're in that class. Remember, we have the only disease on the face of the planet that tells us we don't have it. Mm-hmm. Brutal. Just saying. By every form of self-deception, that sounds like a lie, experimentation, half true, they will try to prove themselves exception, not true, to the rule, therefore non-alcoholic. If anyone is showing an inability to control his drinking can do the right about face and drink like a gentleman, our hats are off to him. Heaven knows we have tried hard enough and long enough to drink like other people. Here are some of the methods we tried. Drinking beer only, limiting the number of drinks, never drinking alone, never drinking in the morning, drinking only at home, never having it in the house. Never drinking during business hours. Drinking only at parties, switching from scotch to heroin. Drinking only natural wines, agreeing to resign if ever drunk on the job, taking a trip, not taking a trip, swearing off forever with and without a solemn oath, taking more physical exercise, reading inspirational books, going to health farms and sanitariums, accepting voluntary commitment to asylums. We can increase the list ad infinitum. Here comes test number 1. We don't want to pronounce any individual as an alcoholic, but you can quickly diagnose yourself. Yeah. I read this book 100 times. This is the only thing I remember out of this whole book, right? Step over to the nearest bar room and try some controlled drinking. Try to drink and stop abruptly. Try it more than once. It won't take long for you to decide if you're honest with yourself about it. It may be worth a bad case of the jitters if you get a full knowledge of your condition. Notice that it says try some controlled drinking. It doesn't say step over to the neighborhood and try some car fentanyl. Right? I'm just saying, let's not transpose here. I want everybody to live. Thanks. This is the Marty Mann test, you guys. I don't want to go too much into it. Marty Mann was the first woman to stay sober in AA. She wasn't the first woman to get sober, but she was the first woman to stay sober in AA. She's also the founder of the National Council for Alcoholism. A pretty important lady around here. And here's what the test was. 1 administration of alcohol. So go and get yourself 2 1-ounce shots of your favorite poison 7 days a week at the exact same time. Pull into your favorite spot, 5 o'clock, 7 days a week. Get your 2 shots of Cuervo 1800, whoop, whoop, and keep it moving. Do that every day for 6 months. And if you can pull it off, you're probably not an alcoholic. Is anybody getting that done even one time? Tell the truth. No. Yeah, me neither. It's all bad. Though there is no way of proving it, we believe that early in our drinking careers, most of us could have stopped drinking, but the difficulty is that few alcoholics have enough desire to stop while there is yet time. We've heard of few instances where people showed definite signs of alcoholism were able to stop for a long period because of an overpowering desire to do so. Here's one of them. This is the man of 30. We're going to look at 4 stories now. Each story has a goal of showing me exactly what happens prior to the first drink. No physical craving. Physical craving's off of me. This is what happens precisely prior to picking up the first one. I have to understand this. I gotta get this, right? In order for me to really have an experience with step 2. We'll talk about that later. Man of 30 was doing a great deal of spree drinking. He was very nervous in the morning. After these bouts, he quieted himself with more liquor. He was ambitious to succeed in business, but saw he would get nowhere if he drank at all. Once he started, he had no control whatever. He made up his mind until he had been successful in business and had retired that he would not touch another drop. An exceptional man. They're talking about exceptional man. They're not talking about, hey, really cool dude. What they're talking about is exception to the rule, right? He remained bone dry for 25 years and retired at the age of 55 after a successful and happy business career. Then he fell victim to a belief. He fell victim to an idea that wasn't true, right? Which practically every alcoholic has, that his long period of sobriety and self-discipline qualified him to drink as other men. I haven't had a drink for 25 years. I must have lost the allergy. It must be gone by now, right? Out came the carpet slippers in a bottle. In 2 months, he was in a hospital, puzzled and humiliated. He tried to regulate, that sounds like control, his drinking for a while, making several trips to the hospital meantime. Then, gathering all his forces, he attempted to stop altogether and found he could not. That sounds like a physical craving. A thought or an idea, which was a lie, tricked him into the first one. Then the physical craving hit, right? And he couldn't stop. And then what happened? Every means of solving his problem which money could buy was at his disposal. Every attempt failed. Though a robust man at retirement, he went to pieces quickly and was dead within 4 years. The truth. Right? This case contains a powerful lesson. Most of us believe that if we remain sober for a long stretch, we could thereafter drink normally. But here's a man who at 55 years found himself just where he left off at 30. We have seen the truth demonstrated again and again. Once an alcoholic, always an alcoholic. Commencing to drink after a period of sobriety, we are in short time as bad as ever. If we're planning to stop drinking, I always like to point out that it doesn't say if we're planning to stop drinking one day at a time. It just says if you're planning to stop drinking, right? There must be no reservation of any kind or any lurking notion that someday we will be immune to alcohol. I used to think that I didn't have an alcohol problem. I used to think that I had a running out of money problem. And this idea even buying into the physical craving idea, but it wasn't really, physical craving wasn't really the problem. It was like running out of money, which would then force me into a life of crime, right? This stupid thing would force me to, start compromising because I can't run out. You know what I mean? Physical craving, paramount to all other ideas, right? So I'm going to start making some plans around how not to run out, right? And if I could just get enough money together, right? Coupled with my problem that at another point where I thought, I don't have a drinking problem, I have a going in public problem. I share that a lot because I wouldn't want it to come back, right? Every time I'm in trouble, I'm always in public. And if I could just stay indoors. Are y'all with me?
Yeah.
I hope what's going on in your head is you're like, well, what stories was I telling myself? Because that's what we're looking for. We're looking for the nonsense ideas that preceded the first one. The filthy lie that tricked you into the first one again. That happened to me. I was sitting in my house, minding my own business. I may have or may not have been 21 yet, but I just suddenly thought, right? Every time I get in trouble, I'm in public. This is a no-brainer. So I hopped on my beach cruiser. I went to 333 17th Street, Costa Mesa, California, to Baycrest Liquor, right? Got me a case of mixed nice beer, went home and started drinking on that idea. I'm going to drink indoors. It's ridiculous, right? If I just got enough money, I would buy an island, right? Right? Young people may be encouraged by this man's experience to think they can stop as he did on their own willpower. We doubt if many of them can do it because none will really want to stop, and hardly one of them, because of the peculiar mental twist already acquired, will find he can win out. Several of our crowd, men of 30 or less, have been drinking only a few years, but they found themselves as helpless as those who had been drinking 20 years. To be gravely affected, fatally, right? No one does not have to drink a long time, nor take the quantities some of us have. This is particularly true of women. Potential female alcoholics often turn into the real thing and are gone beyond recall in a few years. Certain drinkers who would be greatly insulted if called alcoholic are astonished at their inability to stop. We who are familiar with the symptoms see large numbers of potential alcoholics among young people everywhere, but try and get them to see it. As we look back, we feel we've gone on drinking many years beyond the point where we could quit on our own willpower, on my own idea, right? If anyone questions whether he has entered this dangerous area, this is test number 2. Leave it alone for a year. Just stop for a year. If he's a real alcoholic and very far advanced, there is scant chance of success. In the early days of our drinking, we occasionally remain sober for a year or more, becoming serious drinkers again later. Though you may be able to stop for a considerable period, you may yet be potential alcoholic. We think few to whom this book will appeal can stay dry anything like a year. Some will be drunk the day after making their resolution, most of them within a few weeks. For those who are unable to drink moderately, the question is how to stop altogether. There it is again. Interestingly enough, nowhere in the first 164 pages of this book does it say one day at a time. The way we qualify here is, are you ready to stop for good and for all? Quit drinking altogether. I'm just going to stay sober for the next 24 hours and I'll drink tomorrow. Tomorrow never comes. It's like, are you kidding me? Like some little trick is going to keep me sober? It's like setting the clock 10 minutes fast, trying to trick yourself into being on time. I mean, come on. Can we get into the reality of this thing a little bit? Like just, right? Make the commitment, do the work. Anyways, I'm good. I'm good. I blame the Red Bull. Anyways. We're assuming, of course, the reader desires to stop. Whether such a person can quit on a non-spiritual basis depends upon the extent which he has already lost the power to choose whether he will drink or not. Many of us felt we had plenty of character. Yeah, I was a character. There was a tremendous urge to cease forever, yet we found it impossible. This is the baffling feature of alcoholism. I bracketed this and put stars around it. As we know it, this utter inability to leave it alone, no matter how great the necessity or the wish. How then shall we help our readers to determine to their own satisfaction whether they are one of us? The experiment of quitting for a period of time will be helpful, but we think we can render an even greater service to alcoholic sufferers and perhaps to the medical fraternity. So we're going to describe some of the mental states that precede a relapse into drinking, for obviously this is the crux of the problem. Crux means like the pivotal, like the pivotal point, right? What sort of thinking dominates the alcoholic who repeats time after time the desperate experiment of the first drink? Friends who have reasoned with him after a spree, which has brought him to the point of divorce or bankruptcy, are mystified when he walks directly into the bar. Why does he? Of what is he thinking? Here we go with my favorite guy, Jim. Jim's real name, I got it as Ralph F. I don't know, some history for you. He had to use some sort of handle. Anyways, we're going to look at two stories. We'll read about the jaywalker, but we're going to look at two stories. We're going to read about Jim tonight, and then we'll come back and we'll read the jaywalker and Fred. But here's the point. The point is we want to look at these two stories, and we want to compare them, and we want to see truth about this process that happens when I'm not drinking. Right? The thought that precedes the first one. My grand sponsor, rest in peace, shared, I think in a talk one time, he says the best description of insanity he ever heard was, I never took the first drink drunk. Right? I never took the first drink drunk. Cyrus. Our first example is a friend we shall call Jim. Really get a picture of Jim's life, right? This man has a charming wife and family. He inherited a lucrative automobile agency. He has a commendable World War record. He's a good salesman. Everybody likes him. He's an intelligent man, normal so far as we can see, except for a nervous disposition. He did no drinking until he was 35. Late onset alcoholism, is that what that is? Anyways, in a few years he became so violent when intoxicated he had to be committed. On leaving the asylum, he came into contact with us. We told him what we knew of alcoholism and the answer we had found. He made a beginning. I think he made a beginning. They're talking about 1, 2, 3 probably, something like that. Maybe 1, 2, 3 started his inventory. I don't know, but 1, 2, 3 for sure, right? Same thing that happens at your treatment center. 1, 2, 3, the family starts to trust me again. I get some care packages and a new scooter, and boom, I'm out. Can't figure out what happened, right? Yeah, they trust me again. Worst thing that can happen. The worst thing that can happen to you. Resist the temptation to accept their money, I promise. Anyways. We told him what we knew. He made a beginning. His family was reassembled, and he began to work as a salesman for a business he lost through drinking. Uh-oh. You know what I mean? Uh-oh. All went well for a time, but he failed to enlarge his spiritual life. I don't know. What do you guys think about enlarged spiritual life? Maybe 4 through 9 or something like that? Yeah. Sounds like 4 through 9 maybe. Maybe 4 through 12. I don't know. I'm guessing, right? But, you know. So, to his consternation, he found himself drunk a half a dozen times in rapid succession. On each of these occasions, we worked with him, reviewing carefully what happened. Here's a little, oh man, do I have time? This is the spirit of AA. This dude got drunk 6 times in a row, and each time sent him to the asylum. And what did they do? What did the AAs do with him? They worked with him and reviewed carefully what happened. And what do I hear in the rooms? That mother relapsed twice. He ain't willing. Screw him. You hear that nonsense? Like he's got power? Right? 6 times in a row, this guy's getting out of the asylum, and the AA showed up for him every time. Come on, man. Right? Sorry. He agreed he was a real alcoholic in serious condition. He knew he faced another trip to the asylum if he kept on. Moreover, he would lose his family for whom he had a deep affection. Jim's consequence. Jim's already good at going to the asylum. He's not even tripping on that, right? But he's going to lose his family, right? The consequences, here they are. Yet he got drunk again. Who relates to it? Y'all are in the right spot, thank God. We asked him to tell us exactly how it happened. This is his story, open quote. I came to work on a Tuesday morning. What happened to Monday? Right? What happened to Monday? I remember I felt irritated that I had to be a salesman for a concern I once owned. I had a few words with the boss, nothing serious. Jim, where were you yesterday? Screw you, you jerk. I used to own this place, right? No big deal, right? It's not like they were throwing blows. Anyways, then I decided to drive to the country to see one of my prospects for a car. Okay, are y'all buying it? Any car salesman in here? No? I've sold other things. Never cars. But I'm here to tell you, if I'm slinging cars, guess where I'm hanging out? Where the cars are. Right? I'm luring you in. I'm going to put you in the car. Then I'm going to lie my face off about how this car has never looked better wrapped around another human. Right? Right? Let's drive around, smell, feel, touch. I'm not going down a lonely road, right, to sell a car. Are you kidding? What? I'm in some place, some bar going, I swear, the cars are awesome. You should stop by. Come in, miss me with this, right? So anyways, we're a little separated nonetheless, right? Disease has got a couple of goals for me. Isolation first, then a little chaos, right? Little resentment, right? As soon as my disease gets me cornered like that, I may be in trouble. Anyhow, then I added that to prospect. On the way, I felt hungry, so I stopped at a roadside place where they had a bar. I had no intention of drinking. Important. He walked into the bar, he had no intention of drinking. It's not like, he wasn't in that space of like, screw these people, I'm going to have a drink, blah, blah. He had no intention of drinking. This is important stuff, right? We're going to go a little over time, sorry. You know how it goes. We're just going to go to the top of 37 and we'll stop. We'll do a little myth busting up there too. I hope I don't hurt anybody's feelings tonight. Yeah. I had no intention, I just thought I would get a sandwich. I also had the notion I might find a customer for a car in this place, which I was familiar for. I've been going there for years. I had eaten there many times during the months I was sober. I sat down at the table and ordered a sandwich and a glass of milk. Still no thought of drinking. I ordered another sandwich and decided to have another glass of milk. Somebody keep track. 2 sandwiches, 2 glasses of milk. If you have your highlighter pen, grab it. Highlight the word suddenly. Suddenly. The thought crossed my mind that if I were to put an ounce of whiskey in my milk, it wouldn't hurt me on a full stomach. I ordered a whiskey and poured it into the milk. I vaguely, highlight the word vaguely, sensed I wasn't being too smart. But I felt reassured I was taking the whiskey on a full stomach. The experiment went so well, I ordered another whiskey and poured it into more milk. That didn't seem to bother me, so I tried another one. 5 glasses of milk, 3 shots of whiskey, and 2 sandwiches. This dude's done. Right? Done. See where it says that didn't seem to bother me? I ordered and tried another. Right next to that, right, physical craving. Underneath that, you see where it says, thus started one more journey to the asylum for Jim? Next to that, right, truth. Here was the threat of commitment, the loss of family and position, to say nothing of the intense mental and physical suffering which drinking always caused him. He had much knowledge about himself as an alcoholic, yet all reasons for not taking a drink were easily pushed aside in the favor of the foolish idea that he could take whiskey if only mixed it with milk. I would put brackets and highlight this next little paragraph. And after this, we're never going to sit in a meeting and say insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. Stop it. Stop. Right? That's Albert Einstein. He was doing something different. He wasn't doing alcoholism. He was doing whatever. Weird. What was he doing?
He didn't say that.
Yeah. Yeah, he did. Yeah. Whatever the precise definition of the word may be, we call this plain insanity. How can such a lack of the proportion of the ability to think straight be called anything else? Alcoholics Anonymous's definition of insanity is a lack of the proportion of the ability to think straight. Let's go with that one. Why? Who's been sober before? Who relapsed? Are you guys with me? If insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, what are you doing back here? Right? What are you doing back here? It's a bunk message. It's a bunk message. Oh, well, I came back and I'm going to read the book upside down this time. And it's right. Come on. Lack of the proportion of the ability to think straight. That's what I need to get a hold of. I need to see that sober, 30 days sober, 5 years sober, 10 years sober, 25 years sober after a long, successful business career, this is what I'm subject to if I'm a real alcoholic. I'm walking down the street and suddenly I will have a thought that's not true. It will trick me into the first one, and the actual truth will be vague. So on page 36, where you highlighted suddenly, go ahead and mark it if you want to, whatever. This is what I did. Insanity comes suddenly, or the obsession comes suddenly. Underneath that, you might write something like this: the truth will be vague. The truth will be vague. This is where we're going to stop tonight, but this is the part I've been coming to this thing for a long time, and this is one of the things that I continue to miss over and over again. I never got this part, right? Jim just got done going to the asylum 6 times. He's going to lose his family, right? And he, out of nowhere, suddenly thinks, I don't have a drinking problem, I have an empty stomach problem. Isn't it true? Isn't that what the literature just said? Just out of nowhere, with consequences hot on his tail, and he can't remember the mental and physical suffering that occurred 6 times in rapid succession. And suddenly he has a thought that is a filthy lie, and it tricked him into the first one. This is precisely what's wrong with us mentally. This is the nature of alcoholism, right? Our physical problem manifests in a craving. Now I'm looking at my mental problem, and the mental problem is that in a non-fit spiritual condition, I am subject to this. No herd, no human, no meeting, no nothing saves me from this. Only a power greater than myself. All of a sudden, step 2 starts to make a little sense. Step 2 starts to make some real specific, precise sense. That I might come to believe that there's a power, and that the power would restore my mind to be able to see the truth. Right? Because I promise you, in that moment before Jim put the whiskey in the milk, if he had a thought to himself, pour the whiskey in the milk, rush back to the asylum for mental and physical suffering, he probably wouldn't have done it. And if you guys were to go back in all of your lives, I'll bet you could probably find some stories of your own where you thought it wasn't going to get you this time. Or I'm just going to get the 8 ball and I'm going to stop on Sunday and I'll be right. Or whatever it is, I'll bet you could go back in your life and find the times when you were sober, the physical craving was off of you, and there was a thought that preceded the first one that was a filthy lie that tricked you into this thing again. We'll see next week. We'll get through Fred, and then we'll compare the stories, and we'll get a real picture of what's wrong with us mentally, and then we'll be able to fully concede to our innermost selves that we've got this thing, right? Thanks for letting me share.